19 miles per hour, 8 injured people, 6 counts of collision involving injury, 1 count of aggravated assault, and 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury. Late last week, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice turned himself in to Dallas authorities after a warrant for his arrest was issued following a collision on March 30th. Rashee Rice, for those of you who don't keep up with popular football players, is a former Southern Methodist University Mustang who was selected by the Kansas City Chiefs in the second round of the 2023 NFL Draft. Rice already holds an NFL record. He caught the most receptions by a rookie during a postseason by catching 26 passes for the Chiefs during their successful Super Bowl run this last winter. And now there is a new line on his Wikipedia page that reads, Rice faces criminal charges for his involvement in a March 2024 hit-and-run car crash in Dallas. That simple statement obfuscates rather than illuminates the incredibly bizarre video footage that we have seen following this car wreck. Because we all have a category in our minds for what a car crash is. We've either seen one or been in one or experienced a near miss. And for most of us, we all know a lot about car wrecks. But most of us know someone whose life has been changed forever by what we would reflexively call an accident. But what we see in Rice's video is not an accident. On the evening of March 30th, Rashee Rice and current SMU football player Teddy Knox were racing down the Dallas interstate, driving a Lamborghini Urus and a Chevrolet Corvette, respectively. Rice reached approximately 119 miles an hour just before the collision, and Knox 116. The Lamborghini allegedly, except of course it is on video, went onto the shoulder and hit the center median wall, which caused a chain reaction involving several other vehicles. Rice, Knox, and their passengers then abandoned their vehicles and left the scene of the crime. No checking on the passengers of the other cars, no calling for help, just gone. An arrest warrant was then issued last Wednesday for both Rice and Knox. Now, I'm a person who said probably more than 50 times in my videos something like, thank God for dash cams or thank God for body cams. And here we are again, because without the video of this horrific event, it might be tempting for you to say, well, I'm sure it's just an accident. And the reason that I think you might be tempted to say that is because that's exactly what I did. I heard this story and I thought, moron! And then I didn't give it much of any other thought. But then I saw the video. And the video images can be so powerful because they take the events out of the realm of hazy imagining and they show us what really happened. So we got to talk about it. First of all, this is an incredibly busy highway. You could argue that there's never a highway that's okay for drag racing, and of course, the law would agree with you, but I mean, there are certainly places where it's less dangerous, like highways with no other cars, or highways with very few cars, or highways that aren't hemmed in on both sides by concrete barricades. So, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, he's out. Secondly, this is no minor fender bender. It's multiple cars slammed into very hard, real collisions. And third, they just get out and they walk away. It's right there on video. They don't check on anyone. They don't try to help with traffic. They don't appear to be calling 911. There doesn't appear to be any concern for Rice's fellow man. He's only interested in just trying to get out of trouble. I mean, not that this strategy would work. In fact, walking away from an accident where you're the owner of one of the cars and the lessor of the other car, thinking that by leaving on foot, you're somehow going to escape liability. That's so dumb that I don't think a 3-year-old would try that. No, actually, a 3-year-old would definitely try that, which is not a great thing to say about someone's getaway plan. But it's also so callous, the racing, the carnage, the lack of concern, the leaving the scene, which leads us to the 8 criminal counts levied against Rice. 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 6 counts of collision involving regular injury. For his part, Rashee Rice put out a statement on his Instagram story writing, "Today I met with Dallas PD investigators regarding Saturday's accident. I take full responsibility for my part in this matter and will continue to cooperate with the necessary authorities. I sincerely apologize to everyone impacted in Saturday's accident." Now, on April 11th, Rice turned himself in and then was released on a $40,000 bond. Let's talk briefly about what Rice can mean when he says, "my part in this matter." Well, no surprises here. It's the entire thing. Look, he's the celebrity. He's the ringleader of his group of friends. He's the one with the money. He's the one with the cars. He's the one with the access to lawyer. His part is the entire thing. And I don't want to gloss over the fact that he's saying he wants to take responsibility for everything. In a world where no one seems to want to take responsibility for anything ever, this is a breath of fresh air. I love it. It's also a 180-degree turn from where he was mentally and maturity-wise at the time of the accident. Cue the video of him walking away. And not to go full Sesame Street, boys and girls, but today we're going to talk about umbrellas. No, not that kind, this kind. We're talking about umbrella insurance policies. Umbrella insurance policies are like a nuclear holocaust preparedness insurance policy purchased by people who are rich or famous or rich and famous or who do dangerous things like operate on other human beings, etc. And an umbrella policy acts as a final line of defense to make sure that no matter how stupid or reckless or dangerous or otherwise regrettable a thing you have done, it doesn't cost you any money. And I should know, I have one. They actually don't cost that much, and they can help you sleep better at night. So when Rice says that he's taking full responsibility, let's talk about the two types. There's criminal and civil. Actually, three types, since he also has a job where if you get in trouble or otherwise make your employer look bad, they might can you, even though you have a contract with them that says that they have to pay you. Which, when you think about it, is kind of like what happens to most of the rest of us. Your employer can definitely cut ties with you for the trouble that you get in when you are away from work, which I feel like somehow everyone should already know that. But I mean, at my law firm, we're all the time having to answer these questions from people who call and say something along the lines of,
"Hey, I got arrested and my employer fired me. Can they do that? I didn't miss any work and I haven't been convicted. Yada, 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 yada."
But man, this is America. You can be fired for any reason or no reason, as long as it's not an illegal reason, which means that even Rashee Rice could find himself looking for a job soon, because the Chiefs may not want the drama or the garbage or the bad look of having a felon on their team. The NFL contracts allow for teams to cut or fire guys who put the team or the league in a bad light. And on top of that, the league itself, not just the Chiefs, might suspend or expel him. You never know. The umbrella insurance policy that I was talking about earlier, now that's for the civil side of things. Normally in a car wreck, there's an argument to be made about who's at fault legally. And I don't mean like who caused the accident. That's usually pretty straightforward, although honestly, not always. Sidebar, if you're injured in a wreck and you think it wasn't your fault, call me. I can get you connected with the right attorney to help you. But legally, the question can be, was it negligence? Like, was the at-fault driver so below the standard of safe motor vehicle operation that they must take full responsibility for the damages that they caused? And in some states, if the jury says that the injured person could have avoided the accident, or if they were at fault even 1%, then they can't recover anything, which is so dumb. But that's why God created lawyers. But those rules are for normal wrecks. And this Rice wreck, this is far from a normal wreck. And that's why we can't call it an accident. In an accident, you assume drivers who are each doing their best and one of them, or perhaps both, I guess, slips up and there's a collision. But in this case, in the Rice case, we can't use that model. Instead, you have guys who are risking their lives to be as stupid as they please, and in the process, putting their fellow travelers at risk. This is not negligence. It's worse. Now, there is a type of super negligence called gross negligence, but this is worse even than that. The legal definition of negligence is failing to take proper care in the discharge of a duty. Okay, fine. The definition of gross negligence is a lack of care that demonstrates reckless disregard for the safety or lives of others, which is so great that it appears to be a conscious violation of other people's rights to safety. Gross negligence is a heightened degree of negligence representing an extreme departure from the ordinary standard of care. Falling between intent to do wrongful harm and ordinary negligence, gross negligence is defined as willful, wanton, and reckless conduct affecting the life or property of another. I mean, that's the legal definition, but it literally sounds like if someone is just watching the video and describing the Rice wreck. Because at least gross negligence is in play, his insurance companies are going to be looking at paying out punitive damages. Normally, damages, that's the money that you get from a lawsuit or a settlement, are compensatory. That's the amount that it's supposedly going to take to make someone whole or to put them back to where they were before the injury. Of course, money doesn't have that power, but money is the only thing that the legal system really has in terms of currency. So whereas in a bad case, you might expect to get between 8 and 10 times your medical bills for your compensatory damages, Rice's victims might get that times a multiplier of 3 or 4 on top of that. Again, that's a maybe. It's too early to tell. But as I was saying, in a civil case, the only power the court system has is the power to award money. It's not like you can sue someone for a car wreck and then the loser goes to jail. It just doesn't work that way. Normally, unless you were racing, unless you were criming so hard that a jury could imply criminal intent from what you did, and unless you left the scene, which is also a crime. And so, enter the DA from stage right. This wreck was so bad that the drivers were charged with multiple felonies. As I said, Rice was charged with 1 count of aggravated assault and 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury and 6 counts of collision involving regular injury. And hiring an attorney and making a statement that he is taking full responsibility for the accident is the best thing that he could ever do, because he will be convicted of some of these crimes at a minimum. Assuming that he doesn't have a criminal record, then he's not going to do any meaningful jail time for these offenses, especially if, in connection with his guilty plea, he is paying a significant amount of money in damages to the injured parties. This was a crime of violence. It was mean. It was incredibly stupid. They were almost certainly impaired, what with there being a meaningful amount of weed in one of the cars. But, and I'm really not sure how to say this, this is not the type of crime where the prosecutor is going to say that he's got to put someone in prison for years, even with the extensive injuries. At least, I don't think so. But with it being a first offense and not like designed to hurt someone, you could see a diversionary program, probation, fines, etc., and little or no jail time. At least that's what I am seeing. And that is the consequences that Rashee Rice could face from the government and from those harmed by his reckless driving. There is no telling what the Kansas City Chiefs will do with him or what the NFL will do. But what do you think? Do you think Rice will be dropped from the team? Should he be? Please drop your pro se opinion down below in the comments. And remember, you got to race to the subscribe button, but not on the streets. And a Chevy Corvette passengers of the other calls, because without the video of this horrific